Welcome to this GoEngineer webinar. My name is Augie Jimenez. I'm an applications engineer here with GoEngineer. And the webinar for today is Where Did It Go? Is SOLIDWORKS ghosting me? If you have any questions throughout the webinar, go ahead and put them in the chat. My colleague Kaylin will be answering questions. However, if we can't get to any questions, we do get them at the end of the webinar, and we'll be able to answer those via email later on. So do not worry about that. We'll get to your questions. So before I get into the webinar, can everyone hear me? I'm not sure. Kaylin, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Thanks. Well, I want to talk a little bit about our training and resources for a second here. We do have classroom training. We have 20 plus SOLIDWORKS classes available, hosted throughout the US. However, right now we are limited as to the in-person training. However, we do have online training. Over a dozen live instructor-led SOLIDWORKS classes are available from the convenience of your office or your home. We also have self-paced training, which is a pre-recorded course that you can take at your own time. We also have online resources. We have a comprehensive knowledge base built up from over 20 plus years of technical experience, over 2,000 YouTube videos from how-tos, tips, and tricks to deep dive webinars like this one, which will be recorded or is being recorded and will be uploaded later on. We also have certification. So for every SOLIDWORKS license that's on active subscription with us, you do get 2 free certification tests. That's a good thing to know. I was not aware of this when I was a GoEngineer end user. My previous employer did not tell me about this, which is a good thing to know. And a lot of good other information, you can find it on our website. So if you want to head on over to see everything that we offer, that would be great. So let's get into today's agenda. So today's agenda is going to be about those days when you're sitting at your desk and you're wondering why or how. Where are my part files? What's up with my templates? My revision table's not showing up. What's wrong with my BOM table? Where's all the extra columns that I added? Where's all the extra detail that I added, like materials and all that good stuff? We'll be going over that. What about phantom drawing views? We all know those drawings when you open up the drawing and you have a square with an X through it. Those are fun, right? We'll be going over those. What about missing and incorrect toolbox hardware? That's always fun to deal with. And then peppered throughout these first 3 bullet points, we'll be talking about search paths and finding references. So let's jump right into SOLIDWORKS here. And I want to talk about a scenario where, let's say you're working from your home or your office and you want to send an assembly file to your home office, or you want to send an assembly file to a colleague, whatever it may be. And you send the assembly file via email. Then the end user or yourself go to open that file. And you're prompted with this window. And it's counting down. It says something that's unable to locate. It's telling you to browse for something or suppress. Before you know it, it's gone, and you feel like SOLIDWORKS is laughing at you. Okay, maybe not that dramatic, but in any case, don't worry, we can fix this here. So this is just a report saying that it wasn't able to find certain files here. So I'm going to close this. And so what happened here was Assembly files don't actually save any 3D data. So all these subassemblies here in our feature tree are not saved in this file. What SOLIDWORKS does is when you open an assembly file, the assembly file is referencing where those files are located on either your server, your C drive, your computer, whatever it may be, and then displays that information on the screen. So how do we get around this, and how do we show or how do we send an assembly file correctly? Well, I'm going to show that here. So I'm going to open up an assembly that is completed. So I have that saved here. And I'm going to show you Pack and Go. So here's the assembly the way it should have looked. And under File, Pack and Go, this is what you use to send an entire assembly. So what is Pack and Go? Well, Pack and Go is essentially that, which I believe I opened the wrong. And SOLIDWORKS is crashing on me. Not a problem. Let me bring this back up here. Let's try that one more time. Let me open up my assembly here. Large. Give it a second to reboot or load. Okay, so File, Pack and Go. Pack and Go here. There we go. Okay, this is the way it should look. So SOLIDWORKS here is allowing us to, or asking us if we want to include all these subassemblies, all the components. We can even include drawings, toolbox components, suppress components. You can even go as far as saving simulation results and decals. From here, you have the option of saving to a separate folder, or you can save it as a zip file, which is what I want to do. So I'm going to save it as a zip file. I'm going to browse to where I want to save that. I'll save it here in my conveyor sys. I'll give it a name. I'll say save, and then you want to hit save again. And then what SOLIDWORKS is going to do its thing. It's going to pack everything up, including passports and sunscreen, right? And then just to show you guys that I'm not lying, I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back over to where I saved that, and there is our zip file. So now if you send this zip file via email or Dropbox, whatever it may be, the end user will then be able to download, unzip, and then they'll have all the files like shown here. So next up, I want to talk about broken references. I'm going to open up an assembly here. So here's my assembly. And again, SOLIDWORKS is prompting me with this message here that's counting down saying it's unable to locate, and it's giving us the options to browse and don't show again. Now, sometimes, I mean, that thing goes pretty quick and you can't really, see to read what's going on there. So I want to show you guys, if you go up to options, under system options, messages and errors, you can control how long that message stays up. So under dismiss reference update dialog boxes when opening assembly files or assemblies, you can specify the seconds. So you can increase this if you need to. And if you're not getting that window, it may have been that you hit the don't show. And if that's the case, you'll find it here, which then you can just click the little checkbox here, say okay, and then you'll get that back up. So in this scenario, we see that we're missing quite a few files here. And this is a scenario where, let's say, you know that these files were moved. Either a colleague moved them or you moved them, and they're missing, or the reference has been broken here. So to fix this, I'm going to just go over to one of these files first. I'm going to go over to the base file. I'm going to right click, and then you have three options here. You can either say open part, unsuppress, or set to resolve. All three of which will give you a similar result. I'll say unsuppress. It's going to bring up this message here. It's saying it's unable to locate. Do you want to browse? In this scenario, I know where this file is, so I'll say browse. And what happened here is that these files were moved to this new project folder. So I'm going to go over to that folder. Here I see my base. That's the part I'm looking for. And if you notice, the other components here, like the truss head and the sliders, are all in here as well. So I'm not going to worry about that. There's also this modified one, which I'll get to in just a second. I first want to deal with this base file. So I'm going to say open. SOLIDWORKS is now going to show that base file there. And so what do we do with the others? Well, SOLIDWORKS is smart enough to know that it saw the other files in that folder. So do we have to do the exact same process for all these other ones? Not necessarily. You can hold down Control, select the files. Oops, not that one. And you can say unsuppress. And SOLIDWORKS knows where to look now. And it's now making a new connection or a new reference to that new location. Now, this is not going to stick unless you hit save. So you do want to hit save here. So what about the slider? Well, I could have gone in and say the same thing, browse to that file or that folder, and then select the modified modified part file, and then it would override that reference to the new one. Or I can simply right-click, come down here to expand my menu, and say replace components. Here we have it saying that we're replacing this component. We have the option of selecting all instances, which I do want. I want to replace both. And then here we're going to browse to the one we want to replace it with. I'm going to select my modified. I'm going to say open. I'll say OK. All my entities, my main entities are good. So I'll say OK again. And there is my modified component. And now again, if you want to save this, you'll hit save, and that will fix all the references now for this file. Next up, I want to talk about Autosave recovery. This is a very good option. If you go to Options, System Options, Backup and Recover, we have the Auto Recover option here. If you have this enabled, like I do here, SOLIDWORKS is going to save your file every so often. In this case, I have it set to 15 minutes. You can change this to whatever you like, and it's going to save to this default location here. However, you can change that location if you need to or want to. And then we also have the ability to have backups. So if you have this on, you can specify how many backups you want. And these are going to be backups of your file. So let's say in a scenario where your SOLIDWORKS crashes, like it did on me, or you have a corrupt file, you will have backups. This is the default backup folder where you'll find the backups. And you can also change that location here, or you can have the backups be saved to the location of the original, which is nice. You also have the option of having those backups removed after so many days that you can adjust here. And finally here, the save notification. This is another good one so that you prevent losing any files. You can have SOLIDWORKS notify you down here in the bottom right every so many minutes here. I have it set to 10. You can change that. And every 10 minutes, if I have not saved, I will get a message here saying, hey, silly, you haven't saved. And then that message will dismiss after so many seconds here. So that is a very good, these are very good options to have on under System Options, Backup, and Recover. Next up, I want to talk about importing non-SOLIDWORKS files. I'm going to open up a file here. So this is an STP file. I'm going to say open. SOLIDWORKS is going to do its thing. And I have it incorrectly. Let me change this. I want to show you what happens if you don't have this on first. Don't mind this. So I'm going to open up that file again. This is the STP file. I say open. SOLIDWORKS is going to do its thing. And then this is not the way this part should look. There should be a sphere here, like some sort of beach ball looking thing. So this is not what it's supposed to look like. And 9 times out of 10, this is because a setting is off, the one that I just turned off right now. And that's found under, so I'm going to close this, found under Options, System Options, Import. So 9 times out of 10 is going to be this Enable 3D Interconnect. The using 3D Interconnect allows us to import non-SOLIDWORKS CAD files directly into SOLIDWORKS without having to convert them. So if you're ever using an assembly, and let's say you have a part file from a vendor that's an SDP, whatever it may be, and you want to use that in your assembly, if you have this on, which I'll turn on right now, and bring that part file in, it should just convert without issue. Sometimes it asks for a template. I'll say OK. And that's what it should have looked like. So that is 3D Interconnect under Options, System Options, Import, right there, Enable 3D Interconnect. Whoops. Moving along here, I want to talk about templates. I'm going to open up an existing drawing here. So this is a drawing that I made from my lousy woodworking shop. This is a trellis that I'm making for the wife. Anyway, let's say that this drawing is pretty crowded and I want to add another sheet. So I'm going to go over and add the typical sheet or typical way of adding a sheet. And SOLIDWORKS is saying that it can't find the sheet. But why is that? I mean, I'm looking at it right there. Well, this could be a couple different things. Either the sheet format was not saved correctly, or SOLIDWORKS just doesn't know where to look. So it's prompting me here to look for the format, the sheet format that I need. It's not in here, so I'll just say cancel. And I want to go over how to properly save a sheet format. So I'm going to delete this page here. In a sheet format, if I right click, say edit sheet format, is just what you see on the screen here. So it's got the borders, it's got your header here, and in my case, it's got Augie's lousy woodworking. Okay, so I want to save that as a sheet format. To do that, you want to go over to File, Save Sheet Format. So this is a separate save option from these other regular save, save as, and save all. I'll say Save Sheet Format. I'm going to save this in my Awesome Sheets folder. And I'll give it a name of Awesome Sheet. I'll say Save. And I should be good to go, right? If I make a new sheet here, hey, it's giving me the same message. So why is that? I mean, it's right there. I just told SOLIDWORKS where I saved it. Well, we didn't really tell it where. So to do this, I'm going to go over to my options. I'm going to go over down here to System Options, File Locations. Under File Locations, we have a Show Folders For drop down. If you click here, you have a whole bunch of different categories here, and we're looking for sheet formats. So if I click on sheet formats, this is the default location of where it gets, where SOLIDWORKS is looking for sheet formats, and I can add that location that I was just in, the Awesome Sheets. I'm going to add that to my file locations. I'll say OK. This is asking if I want to use this as a search path for when you're searching up here for SOLIDWORKS. I don't want that, so I'll just say no. And then I want to fix my drawing here, or my sheet. So I'm going to right click on my sheet, say Properties. And now my sheet should be in this category. There it is. I'm going to select it, say Apply, and there I have it. Control Q, everyone. That's a very good tip there if you need to rebuild. Control Q or Control B, refresh that page so that the window was stuck there. Okay, so what about my drawing template? The drawing template is going to save the sheet format along with any document properties. So if I go to my options, document properties, anything that you specify here, it will be saved in the drawing template. To save a drawing template, you want to go over to File. Well, first let me delete this sheet here. I don't need it. First, you want to delete any views that you have. So I'm going to get rid of these. So anything you don't want to show up when you make a new drawing, you want to get rid of. I'm good with this. I'll say File, Save As, and I want to save this in My Temps. I'm going to call it My Awesome Template. And you want to specify the file type, which is drawing template. Now I want you to notice something. I'm in here in where did it go? My temps. Okay. When I say drawing template, SOLIDWORKS kicked me over to the default location of where templates are saved. Now I just learned this last week from GoEngineer, which is a great tip. And if you already know this, well, you're just better than me. But if you click on this back arrow, it takes you right back to where you last were. And I used to go in here and search through all my folders trying to get back to my location. So that's a real good tip there. Just wanted to throw that in there. So I'm going to save it as my awesome template. Okay. Sure, this is talking about predefined views. I'm going to close this now. And I want to make sure I'm going to make a new drawing here. Say new. And my template's not there. So what's going on? Well, again, we haven't told SOLIDWORKS where to look. If I go to Options, File Locations, this is where we want to add those templates. Now, first of all, let me just show you one thing here. So, you see how that little pop-up that shows up says 2020? Well, I'm on 2021. So that's something I want to look into right now. Okay, just keep that in mind as I add my location for the template I just made. So under File Locations, under Document Templates, this is where I'm going to add the location of my temps. I'm going to say that. And then you see that 2020 there. So Program Data, SOLIDWORKS 2020 Templates. This is where that default window, or that window with the default templates, is calling those templates from. So to fix that, first let me show you the default template is here. And you see that there's a part file, assemblies, drawing, templates, the 2020. So in order to fix these, we first have to fix the location here. You can either select it and delete it, and then add the other one, or you could just add the correct one. Or if you come up here to edit all, that's going to bring up the list, the entire list found here on Show Folders 4. So this entire list will come up if you click on Edit All. For here, we see the document templates. We have BOM templates, all kinds of good stuff here. So this is the 2021. Now I could just come in here and edit this one there, and I have fixed that one. Or if you see, let's see here, we have one that's 2018, a design library from 2018. And let me see, I should have some other ones. There's another 2018 there. So let's say we have a couple that are mixed up in there. You can come down here to find and replace. And if I type in 2018, that I want to find anything that's 2018 and replace it with 2021, I'll say replace all. And there we see these green ones have all been changed. So there's two there, there's one there. And we should be good to go. Like there's a 2019 there. I'll just go ahead and switch that one over to 2021. And I'll say save. And now since I saved the 2021 there, I want to go over to default templates. And now I want to fix these. So these are 2020. To do that, you want to click on the three dots here. Now this is referring to the new location. You see the 2021 there? So I'm going to click on this. I'll say OK. That one's been fixed. I'll do the same for the assembly and do the same for my drawing. Now I say OK. This is asking again if I want to add this as a search path up here. I don't want that. Let's just say no. And now if I come up here and say new, did I not add that? Let me go back. So I did not add the location. Yeah, so in my document templates, I didn't add the location for the new template that I made, my awesome template. So there it is. I'll say OK now. No, I don't want that. Now there it is, my temps. It's a new tab, and there is my template now. You can see the preview there with Augie's Lousy Woodworking. So that is templates on saving sheet formats and drawing templates and default templates. Let's talk about revision tables and BOM tables. I'm going to open up another drawing here, an existing drawing of another woodworking project. It's a rocking chair. It's pretty sweet, huh? So let's say I have this drawing here and I want to add a revision. The wife didn't like a particular part of it or something and wants me to make a change. And being the nerdy guy that I am, I'm going to make a revision. So I'm going to add a revision here. I'm going to go to tables. And where's my revision option? I see it's not in here. What about under insert tables? Huh, it's grayed out. So why is that? Well, if we look over here, we see that we already have a revision table. We even have a BOM table. Maybe they're just hidden. No, this is to hide. If it was hidden, it would have said show. What about the BOM? Same thing. Well, what's happening here is actually that let me right click on one of these and say properties. And if you come down here under layers, we see that the revision table is saved under a layer called tables. So how do I bring up my layers? If you don't have that toolbar up, what you want to do is come up here to the command manager, right click, go over to toolbars, come down here to layer, turn that on. For me, it popped up over here. You may have it pop up somewhere else, but it will look like this. And then if I come here to my layer properties, I see that my layer tables is actually hidden. See the little eyeball there? So I'm going to click on that to unhide it. And there's my tables. There's my revision table. This is not a standard revision table. I saved this one with a couple more columns here. I have this drawn by and I have this checked by. So let's say I go to add a revision here. And I'll give it a note. I'll say something changed. Very detailed because wife. Okay, and it's drawn by, that's me, checked by Cosmo, it's my dog, and approved by the wife. Okay, so I have my revision table there. And let's say I want this revision table to be on another sheet. Let's say I'm going to add a lot of detail here. I want to add another sheet, and I want this revision table to be on that sheet. I'm going to go ahead and add my sheet. I'm going to go over and add my revision table. I'll say OK. And well, first of all, this revision table doesn't look like the previous one. It doesn't have the extra columns that I had on there. And then if you see here, it says see sheet 1. But I don't want to see sheet 1. I don't want to be fumbling around with my pages. I want that same revision table here. So what's going on here? You could manually enter the information, but that's not very efficient there. So what happened here is there's a setting under options, document properties, tables, revision. Down here under multiple sheet style, we have 3 options. We have C sheet 1, which is what I have on right now. We have linked, which is what I want. I want the revision table on this second sheet to be linked to the first. And then we have independent. So independent will be if you want exactly that, independent revision tables on each sheet where you can modify each revision table on its own. You can have that. I'll say linked. This is telling me it's going to delete the child one that I just entered there. I'll say okay. Okay again. And I'll go back to enter my revision table. I'll say okay. And there it is. Something changed because of wife. And it's got the extra columns there. And this, the way you save revision tables, so like this information here, if you've added columns, properties, you can right click, save as, and then you can save it as a template in another location like I have here, my rev temps, and then have that, have SOLIDWORKS call on that location under options, file locations. You can use the drop down to go over to revision table templates and then add that location there. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about this BOM table here. So BOM table templates are a little different. That there's a separate option here. So this BOM table here, first of all, is not the one that I have saved. So this is just the default one from SOLIDWORKS. I have a table with some other columns here. So I'm going to look for that BOM table. I'm going to delete this table here. I'm going to add another BOM table. Select my view. And since it was the last one that I used, it's showing up as the default here. Usually you'll have the SOLIDWORKS defaults. If in the case that you have saved a BOM table and you're getting the default here and you don't want that, if you click on this star, you can actually search for the template that you want. In my case, I called it Mo Info. I'm going to say open. I say okay. And there is my beautiful BOM. Let me move this revision table there. So there is all the detail I'm looking for. And again, so the BOM tables is one of the, I believe it's one of the only ones that has the option to be able to search with this star here. You could also have SOLIDWORKS point to that location as we've been doing here. You can go to options, file locations, document, BOM templates in the drop down, and then you just hit add and you add that location there. So another thing about this BOM table that I want you to notice is I have these empty spots here. And if you notice, let's take a look at this 1x8 armrest here. We see that the length is 30.5, and one of these empty ones is also 30.5. The next one down is 18.2, and the same, so something fishy is going on here. Let me open my part here. And this chair was made with weldments. If you've ever used weldments, you know that you have a cut list. If I expand my cut list, we see the same items that were in that BOM table. Now I want you to notice on this armrest here, this other item here that's not named is also an armrest. So those, those are identical. I want those to both to be listed as the armrest. So what's going on here? Well, if I look closer, if I zoom in, you'll notice that this armchair here has some little holes here for some screws. So it's pre-drilling for some holes. And then I have, this one doesn't have any. If I look down here, this piece has some holes, this piece, because it goes through this piece and this piece. So what SOLIDWORKS is doing, since I haven't mirrored those holes, is it's saying that these items here are not identical to the other ones. And I don't want that. I want them to be like, let me see, this item here. This item and this item are identical, so there's two. So how do we fix this? You want to go over to your cut list. You want to right click, say cut list sorting options. Here we have collect identical bodies, which I do want. And then here we can specify faces and features to exclude. I'm going to use my flyout tree here to say that I want to exclude those holes, which are these 1/8 inch holes here. I'm going to say this one, I'll say okay. And there we go. Now we have the armrests are together and all these other pieces. If I hold Control Tab, go over to back to my drawing. Now my BOM table has been fixed. Next thing I want to talk about is phantom drawing views. I'm going to open up a drawing here under Gearbox, and it's this drawing here. So I open up the drawing and I'm getting that message again. Similar message to the, well, same message as the assembly. I'm going to let it count down just to show how the drawing looks if we don't browse to anything. So we have these boxes here now. And that's because, well, SOLIDWORKS doesn't know where to reference. Now what I'm about to do here to fix this, we can use this same method to have fixed the assembly that I did at the beginning of the webinar. So I'm going to go over to File and come down here to Find References. Under Find References, SOLIDWORKS is showing me that this drawing is coming from this location here. Where did it go? Gearbox. And it was looking for this part file, housing, and it says that it's not found. So I'm going to close this for now. I'm going to close my drawing. Doesn't really matter if you save or not. And from the Open command from SOLIDWORKS, I'm going to click Open. Going to navigate to that folder. It's under Gearbox. Going to click once on my drawing just to highlight it. And I'm going to go down here to References. If I click on References, we see that SOLIDWORKS is referencing, that drawing is referencing this part file from this location here. And that's this location where I'm in right now. And in fact, that part is actually here, but it's been renamed. So in order to override that reference, what I can do is I can double click here. I'll select the renamed part file. I'll say open. And now you see it in green. That means SOLIDWORKS is now referencing that drawing. I'm sorry, part file. I'll say OK. I'll go ahead and open my drawing now. And there we go. Now we have our file back. To make it stick, you want to save. And now if you go to open this, it will now have the new file name reference. Go to File References. There's the renamed one. I want to show you guys another little nugget here that I learned. I'm going to open up another drawing here. This was maybe is not as common, but it's a good tip. I have this drawing of this file here. And it looks fine. I mean, nothing really is wrong with it right now, but this part should not look that way. Now, if I move my mouse, you see something sort of highlighting there. Let me open this part file. And yeah, it doesn't really look like how it is in the drawing. It doesn't have this skirt here. So what happened here is that this part file has a solid body. If I come over here to solid bodies folder, you see that it has a solid body, and under surface bodies, it has a ruled surface, this guy here. And what's happening is in drawings, SOLIDWORKS automatically hides surfaces if you have a solid body. But I want to show my surface, so how do I get that back? What you want to do is go to Insert, Model Items. I'll say Entire Model. And then down here under Reference Geometry, I'm going to select Surfaces. I'll say OK. This is saying that there's no dimensions that are being inserted. That's fine. And there we have our part file with the surface being shown. So that's a helpful tip there for you guys. If you already knew, well, again, you're just better than me. Next thing I want to talk about is missing or incorrect hardware. Going to open up an assembly here that has some hardware. This was saved as a pack and go item. So just keep that in mind, a pack and go assembly, just like we learned earlier. I'm going to open up my assembly here. And I want you to notice these bolts and just keep in mind the size. Okay. I'm going to say rebuild. And whoa, those are pretty big, right? Those are not the correct ones. They're even digging into this material here. So what happened? Where is SOLIDWORKS pulling these from? Let me go to File, find references to see where SOLIDWORKS is pulling these from. And if I come down here, we see all these other files are being pulled from the correct location. Where did it go? Side plate. But these Toolbox hardware here are being pulled from an actual Toolbox location, SOLIDWORKS Data 2021. So why did SOLIDWORKS override the location? Why did it do that? Well, that is because there is an option under System Options, Whole Wizard Toolbox called Make this folder the default search location for Toolbox components. If you have this on, which I do, what SOLIDWORKS does is it opens the file and it overrides any reference made by the assembly, and it will pull the hardware from this location. If it doesn't find the correct one, it's going to pick a random one or default one, and it will put that in your assembly for you. And well, that's not what we want, right? So if we turn this off, and I'll say OK, I'm going to close this file. I don't want to save, because if you save, you will override the information and then you'll be stuck with these. So I'll say don't save. I'm going to go back to that assembly. I should just use the quick tip. If you hit R on your keyboard, you get this welcome window. You'll be able to get back to what you were last using. Open up the file. If I hit rebuild, that's the correct hardware there. If I go to File, find references, we see that is indeed where they should be coming from. Where did it go? Slide plate. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys for today. Again, if we didn't get into all the questions, we will answer those via email. However, I do want to, whoops, wrong one. I do want to talk about this here. I encourage you guys to go to GoEngineer and sign up for our newsletter, register for training. If you need mentoring, if you have a subscription with us at GoEngineer, you can have an application engineer like myself mentor you on any topics that you would like. It's typically 1 to 2 hours, depending on the topic. And then go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all the medias. Thanks everyone for coming.